The International Monetary Fund, IMF, raised its economic growth forecast for South Korea on Monday. A forecast means a guess about what will happen in the future. 전망. 전망 is forecast. The IMF now expects Korea's economy to grow 1.9% in 2026. This is higher than the 1.8% it predicted in October. Korea's growth rate is better than the average for advanced economies. An advanced economy is a country with highly developed industry, factories, and high living standards. Advanced economies are 선진국. 선진국 is advanced economies. The IMF expects these countries to grow 1.8% in 2026. Korea's economy grew only 1% in 2025. The higher growth in 2026 shows better prospects. Prospects means expectations for the future. It has a similar meaning to forecast. So 전망 is kind of both. The Korean government expects 2% growth this year. The Bank of Korea predicts 1.8% growth. The IMF raised its global growth forecast to 3.3% for 2026. This is 0.2 percentage points higher than its previous prediction. The improvement comes from AI investment and government support in many countries. The United States growth forecast increased from 2.1% to 2.4%. China's outlook rose to a staggering 4.5%. Germany and India also saw their forecasts increase. However, the IMF warned about risks to the global economy. These risks include trade uncertainty, which means unclear situation or conditions about international trade. 무역 불확실성 is trade uncertainty, okay? Other concerns are high debt levels in major economies and geopolitical tensions. Geopolitical tensions are conflicts and problems between countries such as Russia and Ukraine or Gaza and Israel. This is 지정학적 긴장. This is geopolitical tensions. Okay? The IMF said inflation will continue to fall in 2026. Inflation, which is just inflation, means rising prices for goods and services. Global inflation is expected to drop to 3.8% from 4.1% in 2025. Moving on to another story here in South Korea. Game usage, handphone games or video games, in South Korea has fallen to its lowest level in a decade. A decade is 10 years. According to a 2025 survey, only 50.2% of Koreans played games last year. This is a drop of 9.7 percentage points from the previous year. The survey was conducted by the Culture Ministry and the Korea Creative Content Agency. They asked 10,000 people aged 10 to 69 who had played games at least once in the past year. Game usage was around 70% between 2015 and 2020. It jumped to 74% in 2022 during the pandemic. However, it has been falling since then. When asked why they stopped playing games, 44% of people said they lack time. 36% said they lost interest, and another 35% said they adopted other hobbies. Most people now prefer passive entertainment. Passive entertainment means activities where you watch rather than participate. This is 수동적 오락. This is passive entertainment. 86% said they now watch streaming platforms, films, television, or animation instead of playing games. Streaming platforms or streaming platform are services like Netflix where you watch shows and movies online. 이철우, a lawyer who specializes in gaming, said rising costs in games have also pushed players away. Many games now require players to spend money to progress. This is called monetization. Monetization means making money from users or taking money for some service. This is 수익화, is monetization. Lee also noted that people now prefer watching others play games on live streaming platforms rather than playing themselves. The market has responded by making idle RPGs more popular. In an idle RPG, characters progress automatically with minimal player involvement. Now, moving on to another story about Korea. Riley O'Brien, I'm sure you've heard of him, a player for the St. Louis Cardinals, will represent South Korea at the World Baseball Classic in March. O'Brien is 30 years old and was born in the United States to a Korean mother. He plays a relief pitcher, which is throwing the ball when his team needs to protect a lead. The World Baseball Classic allows players to represent the country of birth of one of their parents. This means O'Brien can play for Korea even though he was not born there. His Korean name is Chunyoung. South Korea's team manager, Ryu Ji-hyun, said he hopes 3 to 4 U.S. players of Korean descent will join the team. Korean descent means having Korean ancestors or family, such as a mother or father. It's 한국계. Tommy Edman, who played for Korea in 2023, cannot play this year because of ankle surgery. O'Brien had his best season in Major League Baseball in 2025. He appeared in 42 games for the Cardinals with a 2.06 ERA. ERA, for baseball fans, you know, stands for Earned Run Average and measures how many runs a player allows while pitching. In Korean, it's 평균 자책점. This is the ERA, okay? A lower ERA means better performance. He won 3 games, lost 1, and recorded 6 saves. The tournament will take place from March 5th to 17th. South Korea will play all 4 opening round games in Japan. Korea failed to advance past the first round at the past 3 World Baseball Classics. They reached the final in 2009 but lost to Japan. The final roster for the tournament is due February 3rd. O'Brien and other Major League players may join the team in early March, just before the tournament starts. And for our last piece of news, we go to space. NASA rolled out its Space Launch System rocket and Orion spacecraft on Saturday. The move prepares the agency for its first crewed mission to the moon in more than 50 years. A crewed mission means a spaceflight with astronauts on board. 유인 임무. Okay? 유인 임무 is crewed mission. The massive orange and white rocket was slowly moved from the Vehicle Assembly Building to Launch Pad 39B at Kennedy Space Center in Florida. The journey took 12 hours to travel just 6.5 kilometers. The Artemis II mission could launch as early as February 6th. 3 American astronauts and 1 Canadian astronaut will fly around the moon. They will not land on the lunar surface. The lunar surface is the outside layer or ground of the moon. 달 표면. 달 표면 is lunar surface. The mission will last about 10 days. The 4 crew members are Reed Wiseman, Victor Glover, Christina Koch from the United States, and Jeremy Hansen from Canada. They were present at the Kennedy Space Center on Saturday to watch the rocket roll out. A rollout is when a rocket is moved from a building to a launch pad. 이동. 이동 is a rollout. Before launch, engineers must complete many tests to make sure the rocket is safe. These include a pre-launch simulation where they practice all the steps without actually launching. NASA wants to return humans to the moon as China races to do the same. China plans to send astronauts to the moon by 2030. NASA hopes to use the moon to prepare for future missions to Mars. The program has faced many postponements. Postponements are delays, or pushbacks, changes to a schedule. 용기 is postponements. The Trump administration wants to launch in February to beat China. President Lee Jae-myung ordered a strict investigation on Tuesday into an unauthorized drone flight into North Korea. Unauthorized means not having official permission. President Lee called the drone flight a serious crime that threatens national security. North Korea claimed on January 10th that a South Korean drone entered its airspace on January 4th. Airspace means the sky above a country. North Korea said it brought down the drone near Kaesong. The South Korean military said the drone was not operated by the military. Lee spoke during a cabinet meeting at Chongwade. A cabinet meeting is a meeting of government ministers, such as the Minister of Health, the Minister of Public Safety, things like that. When they meet together, it's called a cabinet meeting. He said if civilians sent the drone, it is like firing shots into North Korean territory. He compared it to starting a war. A joint military police team summoned a civilian suspect last Friday. A joint military police team is a police and military working together to investigate some situation or crime. South Korean media reported that the suspect worked at the presidential office under former President Yoon Suk-yeol. Lee criticized Defense Minister An Kyubek for failing to detect the drone. He asked how the drone could cross the border multiple times without being detected. An individual claimed in a recent interview that he sent drones into North Korea 3 times since September. We'll move straight into a story involving taxis and foreigners. I'm sure you know where this is going. The Seoul Metropolitan Government began issuing bilingual taxi receipts in December 2025. Bilingual means 2 languages, bi being 2 and lingual meaning tongue or language. The new receipts include English translations of the fare, pickup, and drop-off times, and, importantly, surcharges. Surcharges are extra fees added to the basic price for some reason. In this case, fraud, potentially. The city said 487 cases of overcharging were reported by foreign passengers between June and December 2025. Overcharging means to charge too much money. If it's 20,000 won, they charge 25. That is an overcharge. Foreign tourists are more vulnerable because receipts are only in Korean before. Seoul installed complaint guidance stickers inside 71,000 taxis. The stickers show QR codes that passengers can scan to file complaints. The city put up banners and posters at 78 taxi stands near major tourist areas, including Myeongdong, Hongdae, and Itaewon. The city government is investigating all reported cases and imposing fines when overcharging is confirmed. Seoul also requested that private taxi apps like Kakao Mobility and Tada offer fare breakdowns in English. Yo Changwon, head of Seoul's Transportation Bureau, said the city wants to break the cycle of illegal taxi practices. He said Seoul will impose stricter penalties on drivers when wrongdoing is confirmed. A side note, the 487 cases of overcharging were caught by people who either know Korean or were able to distinguish what a surcharge was in that moment. There are many, many, many more that are never reported. Yes, now we'll move on to education. The Ministry of Education announced Tuesday it will amend laws to punish private academy instructors who buy and sell test questions. I'm sure you heard about the major scandal recently. Amend means to make official changes to a law or to a constitution. To amend is to change. The ministry aims to propose the amendment within this year. An amendment is something that is amended. All right? Prosecutors indicted, and this is important, indicted has a C in it, but it is not pronounced. So indicted is the correct pronunciation. Prosecutors indicted 46 private academy instructors last month. Indicted means to formally accuse someone of a crime in court. The instructors included famous star lecturers who obtained exam questions from current teachers. Two well-known instructors, Hyun Woo-jin and Jo Jung-sik, allegedly paid sitting teachers large amounts of money. Hyun paid 420 million won and Jo paid 83 million won for questions from mock college entrance exams. Mock exams are practice tests and help students prepare for the real thing. Think of a mock exam being identical to how they do a real test, but it doesn't count. Okay? Prosecutors said buying and selling sunung, mock exam questions, distorts the nationwide rankings of students. Distort means to twist or change something from its true form. It undermines the fairness of the admissions system. The practice also allows instructors to benefit their businesses by using advanced knowledge to boost students' scores. Presidential Chief of Staff Kang Hoon-sik said the foundation of a fair country is an admission system free of cheating. He said education authorities owe students an apology. Now to a story a little bit close to home. Japanese Prime Minister Takaichi Sanae announced on Monday that she will dissolve parliament on Friday and call a snap election. A snap election is a snap election. It means an election called earlier than scheduled. The vote will be held on February 8th. Takaichi is calling the election to win voter support for her economic policies. She became prime minister in October, but wants a strong mandate from voters. A mandate means official permission from voters to carry out policies. The main issue in the election campaign is Japan's consumption tax. Consumption tax is a tax people pay when they buy things. Japan currently charges 8% tax on food and 10% on other items. Takaichi has promised to suspend the 8% food tax for 2 years if she wins the election. Many Japanese voters are struggling with high prices. Inflation, by the way, means prices that go up over time, even if the pay is not going up. Food prices have been particularly high for nearly 4 years. Takaichi hopes her tax cut promise will appeal to voters worried about the cost of living. Opposition parties are making similar promises to cut taxes. A new opposition party wants to eliminate the food tax completely. Other opposition parties have also called for the consumption tax to be reduced or abolished. This has made tax policy the central issue of the campaign. However, economists are concerned about the tax cut plans. Removing the food tax would reduce government revenue by about 5 trillion yen per year. that equals around $31.7 billion. Japan already has large government debt. Takaichi said the government will not borrow more money. Instead, she said they will cut other spending programs. Bond yields rose after Takaichi's announcement. A bond yield is the return investors get from government bonds. A government bond is like an investment in the stock market, but instead it's in the government. Yeah, the rise shows that investors are worried about Japan's fiscal policy. Fiscal policy is how the government manages its spending and taxation. The Bank of Korea and internet giant Naver unveiled an artificial intelligence system on Wednesday. The system is called Boki. Boki is short for Bank of Korea Intelligence, BOKI. This is the first time a central bank anywhere in the world has built its own AI system inside its internal network. Boki operates entirely on the Bank of Korea's internal computer system. An internal computer system is called on-premise. On-premise means the computers and data are kept inside the organization's own buildings. Most other central banks use cloud-based AI services. Cloud-based means the data and computers are located outside of the organization. The Bank of Korea and Naver began developing Boki in 2024. The project took about 1.5 years. Naver provided the cloud infrastructure and large language models. Infrastructure means the basic systems and equipment needed to make something work. A large language model, as you know, an LLM, is a type of AI that can understand and generate human language. The Bank of Korea developed AI applications for financial and economic analysis. Boki is built around 5 main functions. These include research assistance, checking regulations, analyzing documents, searching data, and translating publications into other languages. Bank of Korea Governor Lee Chang-yong said Korea is one of the few countries that can develop its own AI models. He said sovereign AI is important. Sovereign AI means an AI that is controlled by a country rather than by foreign companies. It helps protect sensitive financial data and reflects Korea's unique financial system. Naver founder Lee Hae-jin said the Bank of Korea's data is a strategic national asset. An asset means something valuable that is owned. He said the project will help improve Korea's financial and economic analysis capabilities. The system is currently being tested. It will expand significantly in March after network security upgrades are completed. Now, into chips. President Lee Jae-myung said Wednesday the government will persuade semiconductor companies to move their factories from Yongin to southern regions. Samsung Electronics and SK Hynix are building a massive chip cluster in Yongin, Gyeonggi-do. A cluster means a group of related businesses located in the same area. The president made these comments during a nationally televised press conference. He said the government will encourage companies to build facilities in southern regions where electricity supply is better. He mentioned various incentives. Incentives are rewards or benefits offered to encourage certain actions. These could include reduced electricity bills, tax benefits, lighter regulations, and lower land costs. Local politicians from the ruling party have been calling for the relocation. Relocation means moving something to a different place. Local elections are scheduled for June. Politicians want to bring semiconductor jobs to their regions. However, Samsung and SK Hynix have already started work in Yongin. SK Hynix began construction of its first factory in February last year. Samsung signed land purchase contracts in December. The total project is worth about 1,000 trillion won, which equals 680 billion US dollars. A little fun fact, 1,000 trillion is a quadrillion. Quad meaning four. Industry officials are worried that political pressure could damage the project. The companies chose Yongin for specific reasons. The area is near existing semiconductor facilities in Gihung and Hwasong and Pyeongtaek. This means it's easier to find skilled workers and suppliers. The president said the Yongin cluster will need 13 gigawatts of electricity annually. This would require power from 10 nuclear reactors. He asked if people in southern regions would accept transmission towers to send that electricity north. Yonggin's mayor Lee Sang-ye strongly opposes moving the project. He said Samsung and SK Hynix are committed to Yongin and the project should continue as planned. All right, now an unexpected one for me. Korean customs authorities announced Wednesday they seized a record amount of illegal drugs in 2025. The Korea Customs Service confiscated 3,318 kilograms of narcotics. Narcotics are illegal drugs. This is more than triple the amount seized in 2024. Cocaine seizures drove the increase. Cocaine is a powerful illegal stimulant drug. Methamphetamine seizures actually declined, and methamphetamine is a highly addictive illegal drug. The decline happened because shipments from Thailand dropped sharply. By region, most drugs come from Latin America, Asia, and North America. Despite fewer shipments from Thailand, Asia remained the leading source of illegal drugs entering Korea. The Customs Service said it will expand international cooperation this year. Korea already works with Thailand, Vietnam, Malaysia, the United States, and the Netherlands. The new partnerships will include Cambodia, Laos, Canada, Germany, and France. Under the cooperation plan, customs officers from partner countries will be stationed at each other's borders. They will jointly screen high-risk travelers and cargo. Cargo means goods being transported. The agency also launched a new task force. A task force is a temporary team created to handle a specific problem. This task force is led directly by the Korea Customs Service Commissioner. It will oversee operations and maintain tight border control throughout 2026. The increase in drug seizures that international drug trafficking networks are targeting Korea more aggressively. Trafficking means illegally transporting and selling something, whether it is a product or people. Korean authorities are working to stop drugs from entering the country and protect public health. Our final story is one from the Middle East. Iran's supreme leader, Ayatollah Ali Khamenei, admitted on Saturday that thousands of people were killed during protests. The protests started in late December over economic problems. They quickly grew into demands for the end of Iran's government. Khamenei said several thousand people had died. He blamed the United States and Israel for the deaths. He called U.S. President Donald Trump a criminal. He said Trump encouraged protesters by promising military support. Human rights groups say the death toll is much higher. The U.S.-based human rights activist news agency says at least 3,600 protesters were killed. Some estimates go as high as 16,000 deaths. We cannot independently verify these numbers because Iran shut down the internet on January 8th. This is according to CNN. Eyewitnesses told international media that security forces fired directly at protesters. Security forces are police and/or military personnel who protect the government. The Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps and police use rifles and tear gas against demonstrators. More than 24,000 protesters have been arrested, according to human rights groups. Iran's prosecutor said some protesters could face the death penalty. The death penalty means being executed as punishment for a crime. Trump responded to Khamenei's speech by calling him a sick man. Trump said Khamenei should run his country properly and stop killing people. He called for new leadership in Iran. The Iranian government blamed the protests on foreign powers. Officials say the U.S. and Israel funded and trained protesters. However, they have not provided evidence for these claims. The internet shutdown continues in Iran. Only about 2% of normal internet service has been restored. This makes it difficult to verify what is happening inside the country. Iranian President Masoud Pezeshkian defended Khamenei on Sunday. He said any aggression against the supreme leader would mean all-out war against Iran. In our first story, President Donald Trump announced on Wednesday that he reached a framework for a deal on Greenland. Trump met with NATO Secretary General Mark Rutte at the World Economic Forum in Davos, Switzerland. After the meeting, Trump said they formed the framework of a future deal for Greenland and the Arctic region. Trump had threatened to impose tariffs on 8 European countries starting February 1st. However, he said he will not impose these tariffs because of the new framework agreement. European stock markets rose sharply after Trump's announcement. The Pan-European Stock 600 index increased by 1.13%. Investors were relieved that the tariff threat was removed. Trump had spent weeks demanding complete control of Greenland from Denmark. He refused to rule out using military force. However, during his speech in Davos, Trump said he would not use force. The exact details of the framework remain unclear. Trump called it more of a concept in an interview with CNBC. He said it involves cooperation on the Golden Dome missile defense system and access to mineral resources in Greenland. When reporters asked for specifics, Trump said, "It's a little bit complex, but we'll explain it down the line." Denmark and Greenland have repeatedly said that Greenland is not for sale. Greenland is a self-governing territory of Denmark. It is unclear how Denmark and Greenland view this framework agreement, since Trump announced it without their public confirmation. All right, for our next story, we're going to talk about tennis. You'll hear the word tournament, which is a sports competition with many matches that end in the finals. You'll hear the word upset. Upset usually means emotionally upset, but when a lower ranked player beats a higher ranked player, this is an upset. It's a noun. And defending champion, which is the person who won the competition last year and is competing once again to hold on to their title. Okay? Venus Williams became the oldest woman to compete in the Australian Open singles draw. The 45-year-old tennis legend played her first match at the tournament on Sunday. She faced Serbia's Olga Danilovic in the first round. Williams set the age record just by stepping onto the court. The previous record was held by Japan's Kimiko Date, who was 44 when she competed in 2015. Williams is 22 years into her Australian Open career. The match was dramatic. Williams won the first set 7-6 in a tie-break and looked strong. Danilovic won the second set 6-3 to force a deciding third set. In the third set, Williams surged ahead to a 4-0 lead. She appeared headed for victory. However, Danilovic fought back. The 24-year-old Serbian won 6 straight games to win the match 6-7, 6-3, 6-4. The comeback was a dramatic upset considering Williams' huge lead. The crucial moment came when Williams served at 4-4. The game lasted 14.5 minutes. Williams saved 2 breakpoints, but Danilovic finally broke through. She then served out the match to complete the comeback. Despite the loss, Williams said she was proud of her performance. "It was an amazing journey on the court today," she told reporters. Williams left the stadium with a smile and waved to the crowd. The Australian Open continues through February 1st. The defending champion on the men's side is Italy's Yannick Sinner. The women's defending champion is American Madison Keys, though she is not playing this year. All right, let's take a quick sip break. If you're enjoying, that's really good. If you're enjoying this video and haven't subscribed yet, please hit the subscribe button. It really helps me keep making these videos for you. I'm trying to create content that helps you improve your English while staying informed about what's happening in the world. And your support means everything, honestly. All right, let's get back to it. Our next story involves some financial terms. Tax evasion means illegally avoiding paying tax that you owe. This can be on purpose, but on accident, it can also be on accident as well. A paper company is a business that exists only on paper, but doesn't actually operate. There's two versions. A paper company is a company that's on paper but doesn't actually operate, or a company that makes paper. So just so you know, there is some confusion. And income tax is tax you pay on money that you earn. All right. Now, back to South Korea. South Korean actor and singer Cha Eun-woo faces allegations of tax evasion worth 20 billion won, around 13 million US dollars. His entertainment agency Fantasio released a statement on Wednesday addressing the controversy. Cha Eun-woo is a member of the K-pop group Astro and is known for his television acting roles. South Korea's National Tax Service notified Cha that he owes an additional taxes totaling more than 20 billion won, including income tax. According to media reports, a company founded by Cha's mother signed a service contract with Fantasio to support Cha's entertainment activities. His earnings were distributed among Fantasio, the company owned by his mother and Cha himself. Tax authorities believe the company is a paper company. Officials say it exists only on paper to avoid taxes, but does not conduct real business operations. Cha's representatives requested a pre-assessment review, a legal process where taxpayers can dispute or argue against the tax authority's decision. They are waiting for the results or the outcome. Fantasio said the key issue is whether a company established by Cha's mother qualifies as a legitimate subject of taxation. The agency said it will actively clarify its position through appropriate legal procedures. Tax evasion cases involving celebrities are taken seriously in South Korea. Several entertainers have faced legal consequences for tax violations in recent years. All right, our next story is about an amazing archaeological discovery. An archaeologist is a scientist who studies human history by examining old objects and remains. A stencil, sounds like pencil, is a technique you put your hand against a surface and spray around it to leave an outline. It's also a paper stencil, has the same effect. And pigment is a colored substance used to make paint. All right. Archaeologists have discovered the world's oldest known cave art on Indonesia's Muna Island. The paintings could be up to 67,800 years old. This makes them more than 15,000 years older than previous discoveries in the same region. The art consists of handprints stenciled on limestone cave walls. The artists created the images by placing their hands against the walls and blowing pigment over them. This left tan-colored outlines on the rock. Indonesian and Australian researchers worked together to analyze and date the paintings. Adi Agus Octaviana from Indonesia's National Research and Innovation Agency found these stencils underneath newer paintings. Some of the fingertips were carefully reshaped to appear pointed. Maxime Aubert, a specialist at Griffith University in Australia, helped lead the research. The oldest hand stencil described here is distinctive because it belongs to a style found only in Sulawesi, Aubert said. Adam Brum, also an archaeologist at Griffith University, believes the artists were trying to depict something beyond simple handprints. It was almost as if they were deliberately trying to transform this image of a human hand into something else. An animal claw, perhaps? Said Brum. The researchers do not know the exact meaning. Clearly, they had some deeper cultural meaning, but we don't know what that is, or what it was. Brum explained. The team determined the age using uranium analysis. They took small samples from the cave walls and used lasers to measure how uranium decayed over time. This gave them a minimum age for the paintings. Adi said that the cave art provides evidence about early human migration through Sulawesi. It also shows that our ancestors were not only great sailors, Adi explained, but also artists. All right, let's take another quick break. Make sure our throats don't get too dry. Okay, if you're still with me, thank you, seriously, thank you so much for watching. If you're finding this helpful for your English learning journey, please give this video a like or subscribe if you haven't. It really helps people find these videos. And if you have any thoughts about today's stories or suggestions for topics or how this video has proceeded, leave a comment down below. I read them, all of them, and I love hearing from you guys. All right, let's move on to our final story for today. Our final story is about crime and international cooperation. We've got a big word here, repatriation. Repatriation comes from patriot. Repatriate is a verb meaning to send someone back to their country. Repatriation is the noun. A crackdown is when authorities take strong action against illegal activities, often in a big way, against many people. And a scam, I'm sure you know, is a dishonest scheme to trick people out of money. All right, here we go. Cambodia will send 73 South Korean scam suspects home this week, officials announced on Thursday. This is the largest group repatriation of Korean criminal suspects from abroad. The suspects allegedly scammed fellow Koreans out of 48.6 billion won, around 33 million US dollars. The group includes 65 men and 8 women. They were among about 260 South Koreans detained in a crackdown in Cambodia in recent months. Public outrage over scam centers in Southeast Asia flared in South Korea when a Korean student was found dead last summer. Authorities said he died after being tortured and beaten at a scam compound in Cambodia. South Korea sent a government delegation to Cambodia in October for talks on a joint response. South Korea will send a chartered plane to Cambodia. The plane is scheduled to return Friday, today, with the suspects, who will be immediately handed over to investigative authorities upon arrival. The suspects include a couple who allegedly operated a deep-fake romance scam. They duped 12 billion won from about 100 people in fraudulent investment schemes. Cybercrime has flourished in Southeast Asia, particularly in Cambodia and Myanmar. Trafficked foreign nationals were employed to run romance and cryptocurrency scams. Trafficked, by the way, means to sell or move things across borders, or people. People can also be trafficked. Often after being recruited with false job offers, According to estimates from the UN Office of Drugs and Crime, scam victims worldwide lost between $18 billion and $37 billion in 2023, not one. Since October, around 130 South Korean scam suspects from Cambodia and more than 20 from Laos, Vietnam, Thailand, and the Philippines have been sent back home. After Friday's repatriation, about 60 South Koreans will remain detained in Cambodia awaiting repatriation. South Korean officials said in October that about 1,000 South Koreans were estimated to be in scam centers in Cambodia. Some are believed to be forced labor. They're enslaved. On Thursday, President Lee Jae-myung called for stern responses to transnational cybercrimes. He said they erode mutual trust in society and trigger diplomatic disputes with other countries.